Hello, Alessandrina here, and today I'm going to talk about hypnosis. I received a wonderful question from someone who's interested in doing some hypnosis and wants to understand how it works. And before I get into how it works and ways in which we can make the process of hypnosis more effective, I'm going to talk a little bit around the subconscious mind and how hypnosis is one tool that gives us access to the subconscious mind and why that's important. So in our lives, of course, we have different intentions, goals. We also have different areas in our lives where we experience pain, suffering, fears or feelings of abandonment or rejection or not being good enough, etc., etc. And what's important to understand is that these different perspectives that we hold about ourselves, about our life experiences, they're very much connected to what we've experienced in the past, what we've recorded in the past, how we've interpreted our experiences in the past. And then based on what we've interpreted, now that becomes projected without us realizing that it is on an ongoing basis. And because the subconscious mind is subconscious, meaning that we're not aware of what is happening at that level of our system until we start to use tools that help us access the subconscious mind. So it's kind of invisible to us, transparent to us, that how we experience reality, how we experience life is a result of what has been recorded, interpreted, and stored in the subconscious mind. And so for instance, if we're wanting to achieve a goal, if we're wanting to resolve a challenge that we have in our lives, or to experience less pain, less suffering, and we know consciously that we have this intention, and it is at the forefront of our mind, and we apply every time that we are in our conscious mind, we apply a process that is intentional and that is focused on achieving the perspective or the goal, the intention, or the resolution of pain and suffering. Now, the challenge is that 95% of the time we are not in our conscious mind. We are in the subconscious mind, meaning that we're doing things. If you were to place a camera in your...
I don't see an app called Camera. You could try searching the App Store.
So if we were to put a camera in our homes and we were to watch throughout the day what unfolds, we would be very surprised with some of our behaviors and with some of our tendencies and ways in which we interact with the world, the outside world, and others, because we don't see what we don't see. We don't see our programs. We don't see our subconscious. We're not constantly hearing our subconscious thoughts, our subconscious emotions and feelings, and our beliefs and our fears. And in many ways, that's a good thing. It's a functional thing, because if we did, we might feel overwhelmed. We might feel like, oh, I have so many fears, or I have so many beliefs, until we got to the point where we resolve that, and then we wouldn't be so inundated and overwhelmed by the types of beliefs, fears, and the associated feelings and emotions that come up with them. So none of that is a problem. It's actually something to understand and an opportunity. When we understand that we have a subconscious mind that motivates 95% of what we do, if it's operating 95% of the time, then for the most part, and maybe even more than that, it's influencing our life results, because it's influencing how we interpret reality, and therefore, since our interpretations is going to motivate our decision-making process, then of course, based on the decisions that we make in life, we get certain results. So when we change that, what is in the subconscious mind and what is being interpreted at that level, then we are able to then have more optimal and supportive understandings about reality. We're able to assess what is, and then based on that, now we're able to actually truly achieve what we most deeply want in our hearts and souls, because now we're in alignment at the conscious level and the subconscious level. So for most people, when they say, oh, I want to achieve this intention, this is my choice, this is what I choose in life, and then they go about their lives and it's not happening, they can get frustrated, they can feel even despair, they can feel like something's wrong, they can feel angry or sad. And what's not being understood in that process is that if you if you declare that you choose something, that you want something in your life, and it's not happening, it's always because at the level of the subconscious there are other beliefs and perspectives that are not in agreement with that which you choose. So that's why operating and really looking at the level of the subconscious mind is so important, so that we can reprogram the subconscious mind. And I'm not saying reprogram as a process of control or attempting to create a false reality, really as a process of actually clearing all the conditioning that we've received. For instance, if we created different beliefs about ourselves based on our life experiences and our childhood conditioning, and we imagine, oh, I'm a bad person, or I'm not good enough, or I'm always going to be rejected, no one is ever going to love me. All of these are simply beliefs. They're just recordings. They're just perspectives that we had in time, that we did not understand, and that we essentially agreed to embody and to operate from as if they were true. So when we start to go at the level of the subconscious mind and to uncover such beliefs that we would, generally speaking, we might become aware of them when something comes up and triggers them, and then we might judge ourselves, we might punish ourselves for feeling that way, we might feel really not good and disempowered, and then we might try to distract, we might go into a process of addiction, and therefore not necessarily resolve those beliefs, and then they would come back, which is why we tend to have the same thoughts over and over again, and the same kinds of challenges over and over again in life, because we don't actually sit with those beliefs and those fears or those perspectives and feelings to dismantle them, to clear them permanently. So when you apply a process that helps you to access the subconscious mind, such as hypnosis, and hypnosis is not the only path, there are different paths that give you access to the subconscious mind. It's one way. And what's important to understand with hypnosis is that not everyone actually is able to go into a state of hypnosis, because we have an analytical mind that can have many different blockages and may want to resist the process of fundamental change, and therefore we can resist and block the process of diving deeper. So when you work with hypnosis, with for instance an hypnotist, or using tracks, which can be helpful, and it's helpful also to work with someone who has an understanding not just of hypnosis, also of how the subconscious mind works and how beliefs work, so that you can really go deep into the process and heal at the deepest level. So when you are guided in the process of hypnosis, what happens if the person is able to help you go beyond the analytical mind, you go into a deep state where, instead of being at the surface level of your thoughts and all of your different beliefs and your understanding and projection about what reality is, you sink deeper at a more fundamental level, where you're able to actually start to be more still, and there's more quietness, stillness, and silence inside, and now you can start to observe those beliefs and those fears and where they stem from, meaning that you might become aware of where a specific belief originates and how it came to be. And so now you're being shown, it's like kind of like following a string, you're being shown the origin of the belief or the fear or whatever is causing different undesirable feelings and emotions that are difficult to manage. And as you're able to see that and to perceive the source, now you're able to face it and to also see it from a different perspective, from a different vantage point. And by being able to see it differently, to experience it differently from a different level of consciousness, you're able to let it go. So for instance, if someone had created a belief about themselves that they were not good enough or that they would never be good enough, and that was not true, that was not real, even if they have conscious part that say, well, it is true, look, I made all these mistakes and I failed, so yes, I am not good enough, or I'll never be good enough. And ultimately, and this is not the topic here, that said we could have a conversation and I could help you see that that's not true, that's not reality, and it can still feel true and real. So in those moments in hypnosis where we are essentially allowing ourselves to be with the feelings, with the emotions, with the beliefs, the fears, what happens is that we're coming at it from a very different vantage point, a very different level of consciousness. And therefore, we're able to see the falseness of it. We're able to see that it is not reality. And we're able to understand and reprocess the event, the experience, the associated emotions, and the belief that was created from the experience and the event. And of course, there are many different stages in hypnosis. We can go so deep that we can essentially revisit in a very gentle and supported fashion. We can revisit the different events, for instance, that could create a belief of I'm not good enough, and all the different ways in which we reinforced and revalidated this belief until it was completely resolved. So essentially, this is the process. The process is to help someone during a session of hypnosis to go very, very deep and to get to a level of consciousness where when we revisit an experience, an event, an interpretation that was made during this event or this experience, where we revisit it from a different level of mind, of consciousness, that allows for the healing to take place. Because now, if we don't interpret reality the same way that we did when we felt pain and suffering, now the pain and suffering has an avenue to actually be released and to be completely resolved at the root. And then what used to define essentially emotionally and in the feelings of a person, how they experience themselves and reality, that changes. And because that changes, now they experience themselves differently. And now they're able, things that you used to be tainted, veiled by the ignorance of the belief, of the prior belief, for instance, of I'm not good enough, that feeling is gone. And if the feeling is gone, the thoughts are also gone, meaning that once you really address at the core that feeling that generates the thoughts that we have and that generates the decisions that we make, the interpretations that we make, the decisions that we make, and the results that we get, once that core feeling is actually resolved, now the experience itself changes. And therefore now new decisions, new choices become available to the person, and now new results unfold. And so that's the power of hypnosis. Of course, hypnosis by itself, I wouldn't say, unless there is a process of understanding one's own mind and subconscious mind and how it works, I wouldn't say just doing a process of hypnosis by itself may not be as complete as a process where you really get to understand your own process of thoughts, energy, emotions, feelings, beliefs, and fears, which then gives you a more global view of yourself, how your psyche works, how your life unfolds based on how your psyche works, and how emotions and feelings and fears and beliefs basically create reality and continue to revalidate reality. So it's simply a tool, and it's a helpful tool, as is meditation, and as are other tools and techniques that you can use to empower yourself to really clear things that are not allowing you to see what is and to experience yourself as you are in the world from a grounded and loving perspective. I hope this is helpful and that it answers your question. I know it was a long answer, and it's important to kind of understand the big picture when you're thinking about doing hypnosis, so that you can be empowered to use the tool in a way that it's going to help you most. I'm sending you much love.